covering the weather beat here in windy Palm Beach. Actually, we're here to interview the former president and now the Republican.
Boring. Edit. Okay, here we go.
Conversation. Here it is. You said at the time when you were president that going to war with Russia, either hot war or cold war, would drive Russia into an alliance with China.
I did.
That would displace us as the most powerful nation.
I did.
You did? When? He says it now a lot.
But we have a bigger problem. The bigger problem is the weaponry. The weaponry today is so powerful. This isn't like Second World War where we have army tanks running around shooting each other.
That's actually precisely what's going on in Ukraine right now. It's army tanks running around shooting each other. That's literally, it is nearly, but for modernization, it is the exact same tactical circumstance. From muddy trenches and fucking air superiority, there are drones instead of, Spitfires, but basically
weapons the likes of which the world has never seen before.
The Japanese would like a word.
They have them and we have them. And China has them less, but within 5 years, China will have equal to us. China, I'm talking about nuclear.
No, they won't. And
China has the big.
How much can I say about this? How much can I charge him to see some of the classified documents about China's stuff that I have in my office? Even though it's disinfo that the CIA knew I was untrustworthy and they slipped me a bunch of bullshit. But
beginnings of a very big, very powerful nuclear. They're short 5 years. They had started much later. Russia and us are comparable. Massive power, massive. And that's one of the things.
More than people understand?
More than people understand, yeah. Yeah, more.
Were you surprised?
They don't understand the power. If you look at Hiroshima, as some people call it.
Hiroshima. As some people will say with their weird way of talking.
Look at Nagasaki. You look at those two events took place many, many years ago.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Those two events. You mean those two cities?
I multiply that power times 500. That's what you're talking about. Where it actually melted the granite. Granite is unmeltable by blowtorches.
Yes.
Really? You can't melt stone with a blowtorch? You don't say.
But the granite, if you look at granite area.
How many blowtorches are we talking about? Can we get the Mythbusters on this? We need 6,000 blowtorches all at once. And if we could, either in a giant, maybe we lower them all, or perhaps if you could funnel the blowtorches, get the fuck out of here.
It's like water that got, hardened.
We call that ice. But run that by me again, stupid. This is great. This is very Building 7. I can't wait to see him in the new Zeitgeist.
Unmeltable by blowtorches.
Yes.
But the granite.
Yes.
And if you look at granite areas, it's like water that got, hardened, like an ice skating rink. It melted the granite. If you look at that and multiply it times 500, that's what you're talking about. When I listen to people talk about.
Yes, we know that modern nuclear weapons and their capability are hundreds of times more powerful than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yes, we know. That's that. Yeah, I don't know if you know this. This is how technology often works.
Global warming, that the ocean will rise in the next 300 years by 1/8 of an inch. And they talk about this is our problem. Our big problem is nuclear warming, and nobody even talks about it. The environmentalists talk about all this nonsense in many cases. Look, I'm an environmentalist also, I guess, in my own way, because I figure, fuck it, we're all going to get nuked anyways. I've done a good job with the environment, but
have you now?
Nobody talks about nuclear. The problem we have, the biggest problem.
Nobody. What the fuck are you talking about? We're always talking about nuclear deproliferation. That's the fucking point. What do you think? All right. Like, at this point, like, he just got us out of the START Treaty and all these things. He's like, nobody even talks about this. Motherfucker, you were implementing the removal of the U.S. from anti-nuclear proliferation treaties that we had with Russia.
Problem we have in the whole world, it's not global warming, it's nuclear warming.
Okay, this is just stupid. And I don't know that Tucker knows what the fuck he's talking about. I think he's having a thought right now like, oh, I'm talking to an imbecile.
And all it takes is one madman, and you're going to have a problem the likes of which the world has never seen. And it's only a matter of seconds. You don't have to wait 200 to 300 years for it to happen.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can be shot, so why exercise, eat right, and go to the gym? You know what I mean? Because you can wait months and not see your abs or whatever, but you can, in a second, you can see your brains blown all over the sidewalk and go, hey, why was I even eating right?
So what you're saying is demonstrably true. Why is this not something our leaders talk about or the press talks about?
Because I don't think they're smart. I don't think they get it. Putin got it. I would talk to him about it all the time. I never mentioned the word nuclear. You never heard me mention the word.
You just said people are stupid for not talking about it. And then you said you talked about it all the time, but you wouldn't say the word. So maybe he thought you were talking about something else. Or maybe you're just full of shit.
My uncle was a professor, a great professor at MIT.
Oh, dear. This is going to be the thing where he's like, I got some of his smarts just because smart people.
For a long time. I think he has the longest, Dr. John Trump. And he would talk about a lot of different things, and it was very interesting to me. For years, I talked to him. Passed away. He's a great, great gentleman. I think it's the longest tenured professor in the history of MIT. But if he wasn't, he was very close, because he was there for almost 40 years.
By the way, who talks about their relatives like this?
And we talk about things, and he said, someday they'll have a suitcase, and in that suitcase, it'll be nuclear, and you'll blow up New York City out of a suitcase.
Was this in between ripping bong hits, or were you walking out of Terminator before he took you into the park for a stroll about doomsday?
I said, no, Uncle John, that can't possibly. He's right.
Why? What do you mean? No, Uncle John. Why would you even say no? That's been a story my whole goddamn life. What are you talking about? And he's not, by the way, he's not talking about in like 1960. He's talking about like walking around with this guy and talking with him in the 80s.
The power is so incredible. You can fire up a submarine and run it for years on essentially a tablet. Run it for years. So,
yeah, that's a nuclear powered engine, dummy. We know what yes, nuclear reactors can run off the same fuel for years. That's how that shit works. But a bomb and oh God, it's fucking stupid.
When we talk about war, and when I watch
the fact that he's like waxing rhapsodic, these stories, I know more about these things that, like, I don't know if you know this, but they were saying that if a thing like Skynet went online, perhaps a naked muscle man would come back from the future, and then you would end up, running from him and maybe hook up with this hot guy who ends up in Tombstone later.
All of the people talking about Ukraine and how's Ukraine doing, blah, blah, blah. Russia's sitting back. First of all, Ukraine's being obliterated.
Yes.
Okay, let's not even talk nuclear. But let's say it wasn't. Let's say they were doing better than anticipated.
They are doing better than anticipated.
If he decided to use his second form of destruction, which is nuclear, that's the end of that.
Yes, that's true. But it's also the end of him. It's the end of Russia. It's the end of every country on Earth's financial support or work with Russia, with maybe Iran as an exception, in which case, what the fuck are you going to get from them that's any good? And they're selling munitions to both sides, so they don't give a rat's ass. What? You think China's going to be cool with Russia using nukes in Ukraine? Are you fucking bananas?
You understand? And I know where you are in Ukraine, so I mean, you understand it better than most. Most people don't. Most people don't even talk about it.
No, we talk about it a lot. I talk about it with someone who's actually there twice a week, and then I talk about it the rest of the week, and especially when dipshits like you bring it up. And the idea that like that Tucker is a fucking source at all for any reasonable like news story or concept around what's going on, what's actually happening in Ukraine is an absurdity.
They don't talk about the fact that he has equal to the United States in nuclear.
Of course they do, stupid. Everybody brings it up. Anytime we tell that motherfucker to stop doing what he's doing, it was like, hey, easy, easy. He might use nukes. The Russians have used, I've said this before, but the Russians use mutual assured destruction as an umbrella under which they can attack anybody they want, because if anybody tries to stop them from raping and murdering people, they're like, we'll nuke you. You're like, all right, well, let them rape and murder, I guess, as long as they don't nuke us. That's what they've used it for.
Capability and destruction. And so I watch all of this happening, and it's so sad.
But can I just ask, though, the Biden people know the power of nuclear weapons. They now control our arsenal. They don't seem worried about this.
That's because they don't understand life. They don't.
Yeah, that's the thing about, Biden. He thinks, like, life is about, like, eating ice cream with your grandkids and stuff. He doesn't know, that, what's he got to live for? He hasn't titty fucked a porn star while talking to Jeffrey Epstein on a video phone prototype that he got from selling it to suckers on The Apprentice.
Understand whatever it is that you have to understand.
They don't understand life or understand anything there is that you have to understand.
Our arsenal.
Listen to this shit.
They don't seem worried about this.
That's because they don't understand life. They don't understand whatever it is that you have to understand.
Yes, they don't understand whatever it is you have to understand. Jesus Christ. I'm exhausted. And he sounds like, I'm beginning to think like the tie is cutting off oxygen to what's left of his brain. They don't understand life. They don't understand whatever it is you have to understand. What were we talking about? Oh, right. The N-word.
Very interesting. At the very beginning, Biden was very afraid of nuclear because I watched him and he was, they have nuclear weapons. Which was exactly the wrong signal to send. You don't do that. But if you go back and check your files, you'll see Biden early on saying, we can't do this. They have nuclear weapons. Well, you don't want to, you don't want to act that way.
Yeah.
But he was very
Yeah. What?
afraid of nuclear. I said, you got to be a little bit cooler than that. But what happened is now that nobody talks about it, but every day Putin mentions.
It's weird that Biden was nervous about it in the beginning, and now he's not anymore. And I was like, you got to be cool, man. And now I'm shitting my pants. It's weird. It's like we've switched positions.
It, and every day other people mention it. And now all of a sudden, if you look, other countries are talking about getting it. This was something you don't mention. I call it the N-word.
It's just gross. I don't know why. I think he just likes being able to tell people I say the N-word all the time and nobody bothers me about it. Like, it's so gross.
You have two N-words. You don't mention either one of them. The nuclear word you don't mention.
Because didn't he just tell us that our leaders are stupid because they don't talk about these things? What do you let's talk. You don't talk about nuclear. You talk around it.
Because the power is so destructive. I met with professors at MIT, and
you explained to them how nuclear suitcase bombs work.
I was preparing for a debate. I wouldn't say it was a long preparation, but I did want to talk about nuclear because I consider it to be the single greatest threat the world has, far greater than global warming, like not even a contest. And I had these people come down. They were very smart.
And they were like, why the fuck are you sniffing? We have a medical facility. We see this all the time with our students. You're gacked up on fucking Adderall and benzos, aren't you?
Expert. And I said, so when we start talking about nuclear in a debate, how would you handle it?
Jesus Christ. Well, I'm in my case, it would be an academic debate. And do you mean power or weapons, or just the concept of the nucleus of an atom? Your question is so simple and dumb. I gotta be honest, it stumps me. And also, aren't you the one fucking running for president again?
And they looked at me, one in particular, and said, Sir,
I'm crying. I'm so sorry to tell you
talk
this.
about it.
What? Shit. Wait. One in particular. What did the rest of them say? Yeah, I'm with him. Don't even say the word.
How would you handle it? And they looked at me, one in particular, and said, Sir, you can't talk about it. You cannot talk about it. I said, what does that mean? He said, it is so massive, it is so destructive that you cannot talk about it.
What? Again, what the fuck? It's a debate about policy to be president of the United States. You are in control of the U.S. nuclear arsenal. Of course you fucking can talk about it. And by the way, if they said anything close to that, the reason they said, that they're like, you can't talk about it, is because he's leaving out the part where he goes, well, if you were in a debate and you were like, I want to nuke somebody, or if I was going to, like, China was acting a certain way and I was like, I've got nukes and I could nuke you if you don't do it or whatever, how would you do that? How would I threaten someone with nukes? Like, if I had to threaten Biden with nukes, how would I do that? And they're like, you can't threaten people with nukes. What the fuck's the matter with you?
I understood exactly what he meant.
Well, you're in a class of one, because A, I don't believe he actually said that. The fuck? And secondly, huh?
And we stayed away from it for the most part. But now...
What if it came up? But that wasn't your follow-up? You can't talk about it. What if I'm asked a question in the debate about my belief about a nuclear first strike, or our defensive readiness, or how big our arsenal should be? Like, those are actual... that would affect my ability. I got to make a budget. Like, of course, I walk around with the fucking football. I can't go, don't forget the thing. The what? What? The MIT guy said, what the fuck are you talking about? You mean nuclear football? You said the N-word. No, I didn't. I said nuclear, the other N-word.
Now, Putin's mentioning it all the time.
Oh, that's right. By the way, somebody pointed out he wanted to nuke a hurricane.
We don't mention, but Putin's always mentioning it. You've heard him say it. We are a nuclear power. He said not so long ago, I said, that's the first time I've heard a major country. You do hear it talked about, and I did a good job. I did a great job with North Korea. Kim Jong-un, you went with me on a trip. You insulted him, which didn't make my life too easy, but that's okay. But you were there, one of the few. And
okay, so this is just a suck up.
it was an amazing, it had to be one of the most incredible experiences for you.
For sure.
But it was
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Usually I insult foreigners from far away.
amazing. We had thousands of reporters. They weren't treated particularly nicely either, by the way, but I got along great with him. And because of that, it started rough, remember, with, Rocket Man, Little Rocket Man? And he said, I have a button on my desk, a red button. I said, I have a red button on my desk, too. Mine's bigger and mine works. Yours doesn't. And this went on for a couple of months. And then all of a sudden, the logjam was broken, and he wanted to meet. And we did meet. And we get along great. To this day, we get along great.
What do you mean fucking to this day? When's the last time you spoke to Kim Jong-un? Maybe it's me, you know what? Maybe I take it back. Maybe it's one of those friendships that he has with them where, time passes, but you just pick up right where you left off. You know what I mean? Like the text can kind of sit for a couple days, but then you just start haha, and then you're right back into it.
He won't talk to Biden. He won't even talk to these people.
About?
He won't even talk to him. He has no respect for him. He's a man. He's like, if he respects you, he'll respect you. He wouldn't talk to Obama. Obama tried to get meetings with him. He wouldn't meet with him. He met.
By the way, Obama didn't try to get meetings with Kim Jong-un.
With me. I met with him twice. I would have had a deal worked out with him. He's got.
Woulda, you woulda. If only you'd had a full 4-year term to actually, as president of the United fucking States.
Tremendous nuclear capability.
He's got 9 and they suck.
It's the single biggest problem. Maybe this show's more important than even I thought it might be, because somebody's got to understand what has to happen, and they have to de-escalate.
So how would you do that now?
Well,
yeah, there's a good, there's plenty of time left in this clip. There's like this much left. How would you, we know it's the biggest threat, bigger than global warming, like fuck recycling, stop trying to save the Great Barrier Reef, stop wastewater and the treatment plants, so don't even worry about fresh water, bullshit. You should live every day in fear of a madman getting his thumb on the button, which you have no control over, and fuck it.
now, so you have a problem. You got
Yeah, we definitely have a problem. You've established that.
this crazy world is blowing up, and the United
This crazy world is just wild. It's blowing up.
States has absolutely no say, and Macron, who's a friend of mine, is over with China, kissing his ass, okay, in China. I said, France is now going to China.
No.
You take a look at Saudi Arabia. Look at what happened. They're great people.
Hi, dum-dum. He's asking you how you denuclearize the world.
They wanted to help us. He goes over and gets a fist pump. You know what a fist pump means? Don't shake my hand because your hand's dirty. That's what a fist pump is. They got it, and they were so insulted. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Oh, I don't want to shake your hand. Let's go fist pump.
A fist pump. By the way, that was, for those of you, if you'll recall,
He respects you. He wouldn't. It's the single biggest problem. Maybe this show's more important than even I thought it might be, because somebody's got to understand what has to happen, and they have to.
somebody's got to understand what has to happen. And that followed up a question from Tucker.
De-escalate.
So how would you do that now?
How would you do that now? And his response was, Macron is meeting with China. Look what happened with Saudi Arabia. He only gave him a fist bump. That means your hand's dirty and I don't want to shake your hand. During, by the way, fucking Delta COVID.
Well, now, so you have a problem. You got this.
Yeah, like, look at it. I don't know. Here's how you de-escalate for your health. Okay, last chunk of this shit. By the way, is it just me, or is this fade happening while we're watching it? I know I'm a little tired and not on my A game because I'm exhausted, but shit.